Good evening, and welcome back to 31 Horror Nights. It's October 10th, and tonight's movie is Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe was released last year, and it won the Saturn Award for Best Horror Film of 2016, even beating out The Conjuring 2. And, now having seen both movies, I can definitely say I don't really think it deserved it. Don't Breathe gets a 6 out of 10 from me. There are a lot of problems with it, but overall it did enough right to not really be bad at the end of the day. The plot is that there are three young adults that live in Detroit, and they're all burglars. One of them's dad owns a security company, so he's able to disable alarms easily. And they're planning on doing one last job to get enough money to move out of the town. And their pick for their last heist is this man. He's an army vet. He lives alone. He's in a neighborhood with not a lot of people in it. And he has a lot of extra money because he got a huge settlement after a member of a wealthy family accidentally killed his daughter with a car. It's just him and his dog in that house. And to cap it off, he's blind. So they figure that it's going to be easy. But when they get to the house, they discover that the blind man is not only a lot more dangerous than they had anticipated, he ends up overpowering and killing one of them. He discovers that there were other robbers who were trying to steal his money, so he locks them in. The rest of the movie is the two remaining robbers trying to escape, while him and his dog are out for blood, refusing to rest until they're both dead. Or worse, but we'll get to that in the spoiler section. Overall, this is a really good story for a horror movie. There's a lot of really good suspense in this movie. Like in The Descent, there's a lot of scenes of them just standing there, trying not to move or breathe, hence the title, or else the blind man will find them and kill them. Stephen Lang kills it as the blind man, giving a very intimidating and threatening performance. I also like the cinematography. Once they enter the house, there's a lot of long takes, to establish the setting. When we enter the house, there's a scene that's edited to look like a 3-minute take that's completely continuous. I like little touches like that. On the other hand, there were a few things that I definitely did not like about this movie. The most frustrating thing about Don't Breathe is how stupid the two leads are. They already weren't exactly the most likable people considering how many people they've stolen from, but every stupid decision that these two make makes me care about whether they live or die a little bit less. There are 5 separate occasions where they have a perfect opportunity to escape and choose not to. It's not The Descent level of stupid leads, but it's close. My absolute favorite one of these occasions is when the blind man is preoccupied doing stuff down in the basement, and one of the robbers has the set of keys and is unlocking one of the 3 bolts on the front door, but the other one grabs her and they run off because the dog is chasing them. Look, I know that the dog was probably going to attack them, but it wouldn't have taken that much longer to undo the other 2 bolts on the front door. And they know at that point that anything the dog could have done isn't going to be as bad as what the blind man had in store for them, considering that they found a kidnapped woman downstairs he'd been holding hostage for God knows how long. And no, that's not a spoiler, it's in the trailer. Some of the reasons that they have for not escaping when they have the opportunity makes some sort of sense, especially in such a panicked state, but a lot of times it just feels like they're making stupid decisions just because if they did the sensible thing and run while they had the chance, the movie would end. It's not a terrible thing, it's not like it's a deal breaker and ruins the entire movie, but it is something that takes away from what is otherwise a really smart concept for a horror flick. Probably the best scene is when the 2 robbers are down in the basement with a blind man, and he turns out all the lights, and it's pitch black. That obviously doesn't make any difference to him, but now the 2 robbers are in complete darkness in a room that they're not familiar with. For that scene, the camera kind of goes into night vision mode. It's black and white. We can sort of see what's happening, but they can't. But I don't know, I kind of feel like this takes away from it a little bit. It kind of makes you almost forget the fact that they can't see. Obviously, it wouldn't have been a good idea to do the scene in complete darkness, but I feel like a good compromise would be to just have the area around them illuminated. So we, like the characters, aren't aware of something until it goes right up next to them. Overall, Don't Breathe has a lot of problems, but it doesn't have enough to take away from its brilliant premise. I didn't care for it too much, but I can definitely see somebody else loving this movie. Alright, now let's take a trip to Spoilerburg. It's revealed that the woman that the blind man had been keeping hostage is the person who ran over his daughter with a car. He's really upset because she didn't face any jail time for the vehicular manslaughter because her family's rich. It's revealed that he not only kidnapped her, he artificially inseminated her so that she could give him a child. However, in the robber's attempt to escape with her, he ends up shooting her. So his idea is to capture the female robber and artificially inseminate her. I guess the point of this was to turn the blind man into more of a villain, but as horrible as it still wasn't enough to really make me feel that sorry for the robbers, considering the fact that they put themselves in this situation in the first place. I don't really get the impression that the movie actually wants us to like any of the robber characters, but if you don't have any characters that you really like, there's not too much to get invested in. The main thing that kept me watching was how clever some of the setups were. For example, one of the robbers does a really smart thing for a change and makes the blind man think that he's killed him when in fact he just stabbed the already dead body of the first robber that he killed. That was actually a really clever moment. Overall, while Don't Breathe does have a lot of problems, it still manages to come out on top in the end because it has a really good premise and is really good at building tension. There's a lot of really good suspense in this movie. It's kind of hit or miss, but the hits are good enough to not make it worth ignoring completely. I'll see you tomorrow.